you guys, this is Orsi and this is going to be a Rumer inspired video. After the two Buffy decks, we were thinking about and talking about decks for Angel, and yeah, this is the only Angel that I have because I'm not really big on traditional angels, and my mom has a lot of angels, but I didn't want to just get one. Even though she offered, I kind of felt like it's too secret for her in a way, so I don't want to just pull it in for a video. But this is something that I got from her anyway, and it's a tiny angel, so I felt like this angel can represent Angel, as in the theme. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, Angel was a spin-off TV show for Buffy, with a bunch of characters appearing first on Buffy and then obviously appearing here, and then there were a lot of new ones. So I made notes. Altogether I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 characters that I have a deck for. Because, there's a bunch of characters here as well. And I just finished rewatching Angel, and yes, the last episode is still as frustrating as it was because the show was cancelled before they could have just closed, everything nicely and properly, which is annoying because there's a lot that happened in the last episode, and of course I'm gonna be spoilerish about things. So if you haven't watched Angel but you're planning on doing it, then maybe don't watch this video right now, because I will talk about things. But yeah, I don't even know what I meant to say, but yeah, this is gonna be similar to the Buffy deck videos. I picked a deck for each of the characters. It was much harder, to be honest, than Buffy. Especially Wesley. Wesley was very, very hard. But I had a few that I thought it was good, but some I feel I'm confident in my choices, but I hope that those of you who played along with the Buffy tag will have a time and do a response to this one, because I would love to know, especially Wesley, what sort of a decks would be chosen. You can do that in the comments as well. You don't have to post a video if you don't feel like doing that. Okay, so let's start because I'm just babbling. The first one is obviously Angel. And Angel, I already have decks for him in the Buffy tag, but Angel in Buffy was quite different than Angel in Angel. And I think it's, it's obvious, more, it makes sense that he was different, because in Buffy, I feel like he was more of a supporting role for Buffy, everything that happened with him sort of connected into Buffy's story. So even though he was 100 and plus, I don't remember how old, he is, year-old vampire, his story was just shown when it was important for something to happen to Buffy. So what I mean by what I'm trying to say is that we didn't really know a lot about Angel in that show. I think especially because of their relationship with Cordelia, we learned a lot more about what sort of a person Angel actually is. But still, when it comes to him, there was a lot in the shadows still. We got a glimpse of his values more, and certain events in his past, but he is, a powerful and mostly lonely vampire for a reason. That's just what it is. So the deck that I chose for him was the True Black, and not because Angelus and then that he would become evil and the True Black, but because in this deck, if you don't know it, in this deck there's always a piece that's highlighted, that's in the front, that you can look at and realize what that is, but there's a lot in the shadows. There's always just like a a piece in an art exhibition. It's little. Well, little is that a word? It's very well lit. That thing in the middle, but the people who are standing around it or other exhibition pieces in relation to it are more in the background, and there's darkness between them. And I think that very well displays how Angel was portrayed and just shown to us watchers, the audience, because we obviously thought that we knew him and we learned a lot about certain elements of him, and especially with in relationship of his relationship with others, but his past, his needs, his desires, we didn't get the full picture. We saw a shining moment from it. So I think the True Black be a good choice. I mean, look at the sun. There is some flowers and petals, but not actual sun, which is useful if you're a vampire. So yeah, that's for Angel, the True Black, and I think it gives him that well-deserved elegance as well, because what I would say is that he is not elegant in his movement. He wasn't portrayed as a dancer or anything like that, but he's elegant in a way how he handles most of the difficult situations. Next one is Cordelia. Cordelia was easier for me because I have a deck that I have a very special relationship with, and honestly, Cordelia was my favorite character, if not one of them, or if not the favorite, then one of them. Oh, that was hard. And when there's, she was written out in the 5th season because Joss Whedon is an idiot. But there was a scene or an episode when she came back from the coma before she died, and she spent the day with the rest of them and Angel and everything, and it was just so stark, the difference, how better the show could have been if Cordy is there, because their relationship with Angel was just equal and powerful and understanding and supporting in such a great way that carried the show so naturally. So taking her out of the picture, I think the show lost. And especially, now knowing why this happened is just stupid and whatever. If you don't know and if you want to know, just Google it. It's the stupidest reason ever, I think. But yeah, so in that scene, in that episode when she comes back, it's just, I was like, oh yes, this was what was missing from the show. I didn't even realize that it was missing from that season. And her character has a lot of growing to do. She starts that in Buffy, but when she actually starts working with Angel and Doyle, at the beginning she changes a lot, and in the end she ends up with Doyle's power, so obviously there's a connection to the sacred, and the deck I chose is the Sacred Destiny Oracle. Of course, the Oracle was for her being, an Oracle, pretty much. But my main reason was that this is the deck that I feel like I have the best connection with the divine. This deck is just so brilliant, and it never lets me down. I always have such profound readings when I use this deck, even though this deck might not look like that, and the surface, it might just look like simple collage deck, and just like with Cordelia, if you just look at her at first, and she's just a wannabe actress, but she was so much more than that, and she changed into such an amazing person and a beautiful woman and everything. And I really truly think that their relationship with Angel was more real than Buffy, because with Buffy it was this huge big I love you but I can't have you, you know, it's the tragedy that is what keeps us together kind of way. But with them they were equal, and I appreciate that relationship a lot more, because she managed to become an equal to him in pretty much every way. So yeah, thank you for not letting them be together. Yay! There was potential. So yeah, it might not look like it, that, you know, this deck is special enough for Cordelia, but because of what it means to me, that's why I chose it. That's why this is Cordelia for me in a deck. Next one is Wesley. Wesley. Ah, God. So I don't even know what I think about him anymore. I know that when I first watched the show, I was like, oh, poor thing. And, you know, when he kidnaps Connor, Angel's son, I was telling myself that he had his reasons and it's understandable. Now watching it as a grown-ass woman, even though I don't have children, but I have a niece that I would honestly, literally die for. If someone would take away my kid, or, you know, my nephew, I don't think I will ever like manage to not try to murder them. So Angel's reaction was completely and utterly fine. And what Wes was doing is just simple stupid things, because like, why would you think that? And I'm not even entirely sure that it went along with whom the character was. I kind of felt like now watching it that it was a bit of a reach, that he would just worry as much to not talk to anybody. If not, you know, Angel, even though he had no real reason not to trust him, I don't think so, but at least someone else. But yeah, you can say that, you know, he took the burden on himself alone. Okay, but I don't know. For me, it's a bit of a stretch. But yeah, I would have murdered him if I was Angel, so, you know, that complicates things. And yeah, so that's one thing. And then of course he's the real, actual, emotional human being who reacts emotionally, because when someone who dies, someone he loves dies, he is gonna go and just murder, just like Angel would do, you know. And not just gonna go and murder whoever did that, because there's no time to be logical and understanding. It's an eye for an eye scenario in his mind when something like this happens, which I also understand. So he is a very, very complicated person, I think, and character in this show. So, you know, picking a deck for him was very hard. And this is the one that I'm not fully happy with, because what I would pick if I had something like that, but I don't, is more along the lines of a deck like the 78 tarot, you know, anything from that, or one of those decks where all the cards are from a different artist, because I feel like he's just so, he's a bunch of puzzle pieces trying to take a shape. That's what I feel Wesley is, and he has an enormous self-restriction when it comes to emotions. So, you know, there's always a lot of emotional turmoil going around under the surface that you can sense, obviously, if you look at him when he has that stoic facial expression. But it's not something that you often see, and when it bubbles up, it just like destroys things. So what I chose for him because of that last aspect was the Star Dragon Oracle cards. He could be a tarot, so it's not like he's not good enough to be a tarot, but I just don't have that. But I especially felt like this raw power that's constantly trying to be restrained is represented in the dragons. And, I kind of looked at the cards and felt like this is his public persona that is trying to fit in, is trying to be like a human, like a regular one or a normal one. But these are all the held back emotions and power and rage, because he has a lot of rage inside of him. That duality, at least duality, if not more. Like something like this, you think you're looking at this person, but what you don't see is that you're looking at someone who has a beast within and inside, a powerful one, a very wise, powerful, because he's very, very smart. Wise, okay, maybe not, but very, very, knowledgeable person in the background, or side of him in the background. So I still think that this deck could be good for Wesley, even with cards like this, because when he was happy for a moment, when Fred was finally his, so to speak, Fred, then it just shows that it doesn't mean that his rawness disappeared. It just subsided into a smaller size, but it was always there. But most of the time he was like this. So yeah, so I think that duality, that restriction, and that power and the rage that he feels a lot of the time, and loneliness, he can be in this deck, can be found in this deck. But yeah, my opinion. You will tell me if you think that this was a good deck or not. Okay, then comes Fred. Because Fred, I loved Fred. Honestly, Fred was amazing, and I appreciate what they did with her character, turning into Illyria, an ancient one. I was just thinking about that. In Angel, characters died and, disappeared more easily than in Buffy. But before she changed, she was this lovely, knowledge-seeking, kind and funny and shy and everything like that person. And then, came the biggest transformation when she almost disappeared, because there were just some echoes in Illyria when, the transformation just happened. That, Fred in a way was still there, just tiny memories and stuff like that. So I would have, loved to know what they would have done with that. But because of the alienness, and because of her time in, in that world, I forgot the name, where she spent 5 years in pretty much hiding in a cave in a different world, speaking a different language than everybody else. I thought that those two things could very well be the Lightyear's Hungarian edition, because this is a deck, look at the transformation. This is a deck that is all about, before she gets swept up and teleported somewhere else, seeking knowledge, like finding why something is working, just like tarot, learning about things. Just being her, like, lights. I don't know what to say because she's not a light worker in a state, but she could light up the room when she entered because she was just so special. Not special, not. I meant to say passionate about the knowledge she was seeking, and she acted like a fool in search of a knowledge, which is amazing. She was stronger than she did, but so it's that side. But what happened to her kind of made her different, and it obviously feels like sometimes she speaks a different language because of her experiences, and especially after Illyria comes along. So I don't know, I kind of felt like that Alicia's, the Hungarian edition, is a good fit for Fred. Because I didn't want to choose, anything dark. Because when I think about Fred, I always think about her thirst for knowledge the most. Oh, look at an angel. An angel saved her, obviously. So, yeah, that's my deck for Fred. Okay, next one is Gunn. Gunn was, in a way, easy, and in a way a bit hard because I was like, what do I think about Gunn? Because I didn't really like him that much when he was just a muscle at the beginning, because I understood why he was the way he was, but I was just like, okay, but we're doing other things, we're doing missions and higher powers and stuff like that. Not just revenge on vampires. But I really loved what they did to his character when he got the brain implant, so to speak, the knowledge, and not just the fact that it changed him into a lawyer, and he became knowledgeable, because that was cool. The suits looked really good on him, but when he lost, he felt he was afraid that he lost this special power. And that episode, when he goes through this whole, I'm not gonna be good enough to be here because I'm just a regular nobody if I don't have this implanted knowledge. I don't have this implanted knowledge in my head, and what he could do and what he did to get it back. I think that was just very human, and I could relate to that because I'm sure that I would have done the same. Because when you're around vampires and like powerful beings, just like Xander in Buffy, it's very, very hard to not feel you're less and you're not good enough. And that's why I chose for him the Magic of Marvel Oracle, because his story kind of reminds me of an superhero story, because most of the superheroes are just regular people who are not necessarily living the best life ever. They usually go through hardship and loneliness and pain and suffering before they get their power. And I think most of them questions what they would be without their powers, and doesn't like the answer for it. Obviously, I don't know every superhero in here, but there's that very human element when you're not Thor, for example, but those who were changed into a superhero from a regular human being. It's I think that's very Gunn, or at least for me. So I do feel like that the superhero angle for him was quite true, with all the good and the bad aspect. Even though, when Fred changes, or had Illyria takes over, they kind of made, I think, a bigger deal about him signing a form and knowing what would happen than it warranted, because that was a form. And it didn't suggest anything that someone would die. I would just assume that someone would get rich. Even though, yeah, Wolfram and Hart, but that was a bit too much for me. Like, Wesley again going on a killing spree, because why not? But, yeah. Still, I think it's a good oracle for him. Okay, I didn't remember. Okay, Doyle. Maybe I should have started with Doyle a little earlier. Doyle was hard because Doyle. I mean, I love Doyle. I think everybody loved him, and knowing that the actor is not here anymore is just sad. And he was Irish because why not? Like actual real Irish. He was fun and kind and shy and full of self, issues. But he was the connection to, like the powers that be, and getting the visions at first. And obviously Cordelia took over, but slowly and gradually for Cordy, the visions became more understandable or easier to understand. But with Doyle, especially at the beginning, it was more like, okay, we're getting some fragments and let's try to figure out. And that's why I chose the Lorenzi Tarot, even though it's not my absolute favorite because of what I said in the first impression. But this is the most abstract deck that I have currently. And I really wanted an abstract deck for Doyle because of the visions, of how the visions worked. Because, you get a picture like this and then, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? Who am I supposed to save? What is important in this vision? Is it the heart? Is it the baby? Is it the big skull? There were times when they didn't know and they misinterpreted the vision. So I kind of felt like an abstract deck for that could be good. I still don't know. I'm actually thinking about turning this deck into an oracle because I don't think that I would use it as a tarot because of the repetition, because of the too much sameness for cards like the Page of Swords. But maybe for a very like abstract oracle deck, it could work. It could work, but I will see. But yeah, for Doyle, I think this one is. Look at that. That's like one of his visions. And cards like this made me think about him being half demon, half human. That there's the disconnect between that. Always trying to hide who you are fully and completely because you're worried that other people won't understand and they will just look at you and think that you're a freak. And there's a lot of creatures here that are half human, half something else, which I think is also very fitting. And doesn't mean that they are evil. It just means that they're different. So yeah, I chose the Lorenzi Tarot for Doyle. Okay, not much left, I think. Next one is Connor. Connor. Yeah, Connor was complicated until I realized that the thing that I most often think about when it comes to him is his lost childhood. Because, he could have been wonderful. He could have been everything and anything he wanted. But spending his childhood growing up in that hell dimension, fighting demons and the vampires and all those horrible things, and being thought that your actual father is a horrible thing that you need to kill, that's not true. Getting over that is just the saddest thing. So I chose The Terror of the Little Prince because this is such a sad story, and it's a childhood, it's a children's story, kind of. But it's some part of it has that sense of childhood ending and losing childhood, a part of your childhood. I think it's always in the background for me when I use this deck or when I think about this deck. If you don't know, the story, just read it. It's like a few hours read the most. It's a very short one, but I think it's a wonderful story. Now, as an adult, I can appreciate it, and I think the deck was very well made and done for it. So, I will never stop pimping this deck because it's just one of my all-time favorites, and I think it's a great deck. And yeah, it gives that lost childhood feeling that everything could have been better if he could have actually become a child and grew up and then become an adult, not thrown into hell dimension, losing everybody and everything who loved him, and the safety and the love he was supposed to be surrounded with. The 10 of Cups that he lost, because that was the biggest thing. That's why his life later on just was destined to be doomed, and that's why angels sacrificed to give him up, to give him a normal life, was even more so like selfless and God honestly heroic, because giving up your own child, even if you know that you're doing him the biggest favor you can ever do, is just the hardest thing. It must be the hardest thing. So yeah, so for color I chose the Terror of the Little Prince because it makes me a tiny bit sad every time, and I think that fits. Okay, next one, Spike. Okay, where's the okay? For Spike, just so we can cheer up the mood a little. Spike had a completely different story arc and character development in Buffy, obviously. I feel like in Angel, he was there more to annoy Angel than to anything else. He was obviously this new version of himself who was better than he was before, especially. But, even when he was talking about being good and saving people, he was doing it to piss off Angel and just, go around and be like, hey, I did it too. I can be the vampire with the soul as well. I can become human again. You're not just a champion anymore, or you're not the only champion in the room now. And honestly, these two acted like high school boys when they were most of the time in the room. So I was thinking about the Royal Mischief transformation playing cards, because look at this card. He is he is this one to Angel, pretty much. He was an idiot in a way, not in a bad way, but yeah, mischievous, and he was just there to annoy Angel most of the time, and I really felt like that these cards could represent that feeling. I mean, look at that. This could be them. And I do appreciate that, they chose to show a different side of Spike here, and Angel as well. Because, they didn't need to show the big heroic arc that, Buffy watchers already knew. This was something different, and very true that when we're in different, friends groups or environments, we act differently, and Spike was acting differently when he was close to Angel. And vice versa. So yeah, I think so. I think that this deck with all the silliness in it is just the perfect deck for Spike in Angel. Okay, so yeah, that's Spike. Okay, after Spike we have Lorne, obviously. Oh, I love Lorne, and yeah, I just love Lorne. And for him, I chose the Threadbound Oracle because I was thinking that, you know, he was all about accepting everybody, creating spaces that where people, creatures, demons, whatever, can feel safe and be who they are without being judged, without, even if they have horrible, you know, like singing voice, but where they can find help, when they can get, you know, knowledge. But in a way, he was a little bit lonely because, you know, everyone was always looking at him for help and not really like caring if he needed help. At least you know, like there was always that sense in the background. But, you know, he created the place where people could be themselves, everybody could show their own true unique colors and be celebrated for it, be accepted for it. The screaming color, which I think is just, you know, this deck, or with all the colors, with all the representation, all the everything. And I'm just going through it because I like seeing this deck. So yeah, for Lorne, this is the Threadbound Oracle, because especially the Threadbound, because you know, we're all connected, and he was there to connect people and just let them be their beautiful selves. So I think that this is a good one. Okay, let's put this one here. Then we have Lindsey. I only have 3 left. I have Lindsey, and honestly I just chose Lindsey because I had such a huge crush on Christian Kane in this TV show because he looked so magnificently fine. Then I was like, I want to talk about Lindsey. Lindsey was a little weasel, and I really liked what they did with him before he left. I think they should have just left the character there when he left. I don't think it was really necessary to bringing him back. But I really enjoyed that he was, you know, running around half naked and stuff like that. So that's why I chose the Supernatural Tarot, because when I think about Supernatural, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not gonna say that I don't think about Jensen Ackles looking the way he does, because that's a very, very handsome man. And do I know a lot about Lindsey? No. And this deck is half finished, so, you know, it's kind of like that. Lindsey wasn't really explained enough. Maybe in the future. Oh no, wait, they killed him, so... Okay, like I said, you know, a lot of people died. Wesley being one of them. But, you know, the unfinishedness, the darkness, because he was dark, there's a lot of darkness in this deck, but let's just be honest, it's because Dean looks the way Dean looks. That's an extra special thing. I love Supernatural. You know, I didn't watch the whole show because, you know, Jensen Ackles looked the way he does. But I'm not gonna lie that I didn't enjoy every time he walked into frame. Because, you know, the two can be true. So yeah. This is the... Let's have that guy that we all have, or, you know, girl, doesn't matter. Or whatever demon that we have a crush on, and just enjoy some, you know, screen time for them. So that's why Lindsey gets the Supernatural Tarot. For a very, very shallow reason. But, you know, sometimes we can be, or yeah, maybe we can't, but I am shallow in this aspect. Okay, I'm done with Lindsey, and now we have Harmony, because I couldn't leave Harmony out, you know. And I appreciated Harmony not really changing a lot. I think she was the only one who went through some character changes, but not a whole lot. You know, she would try to fit in, and when she felt like she was fitting in, she did what, you know, the others expected of him, but she betrayed everyone so easily because, you know, she was a vampire, and a new vampire, so why would she grow a conscience and stuff like that so easily? So for her, I picked the Affirmators Tarot because I kind of feel like that she was this la 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 person most of the time, but it doesn't mean that, you know, when we got to see a little from her, that episode when she was thinking that she drank human blood and, you know, she was panicking and everything. The loneliness that was there under the surface was, you know, part of it, because she really wanted to belong. She was a popular girl for a reason in high school. But, you know, she could take life on a very surface level when things were doing okay. She could just be like, hey, la 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 la, I'm gonna ignore all my problems and just pretend everything is fine. And I'm not saying this deck does that, but it's what I use this deck for is when I was going through a really hard time and I couldn't handle in my face, kicking out your ass, calling your shit out kind of readings. I use this deck. And I kind of feel like that it fits for her as well, because, you know, she was trying to just be happy and find stuff that she can enjoy during the day. And find her place and stuff like that. So I think the Affirmators Tarot is a good one for harmony. I mean, I took the mist. Okay, and the last one is Darla. No, I don't know why I left her the last one, you know. That wasn't really, I just going through the names in my head. Darla was interesting because she's a very strong woman, obviously. She went through a lot of shit, then became a vampire, and then went through a lot of shit as a vampire as well. She wasn't like good at all, but, you know, I really like that when she was pregnant with Connor, and his goodness was, or humanness, his soul was, you know, bleeding into her system, so she was able to care about the baby. But when she tells Angel that, you know, as soon as the baby is out, I'm not gonna be able to feel all these things, and what a loss it's gonna be, or something like that, you know, they had a conversation about that, and that was just really profound, I think, and very self-aware. She's a very, very self-aware person. She always knew what role to play, how to play it, so that she can get what she wanted. And that's why I chose the Britney Oracle for her, because Britney played so many roles. Most roles she was forced on her, you know, it was forced on her, because she had to act in a certain way to get a chance to see her children. But you don't really know who Britney Spears is. You just know her professionally. You know her as someone in a video clip. You know, maybe you have an idea about what she likes and what she represents, but she showed us so many faces that it's very, very hard to see who's behind that, besides the point that we know that there is a very strong person, because if she wouldn't be, she couldn't have handled all what she went through and what she's still going through. So I think the same is true for Darla as well. She did what she had to do, and as well what she wanted to do when she could, to get what she wanted. And I think, you know, she's definitely a ringleader, because Darla is Darla. And I really liked her character, and I think that this oracle really fits her well. So yeah, she was the last one, and I hope I didn't, you know, forget anybody. I mean, I'm thinking I didn't. There were others like Lila. I was thinking about ending Lila, but Lila was important in relation to Wesley, more so than on her own. And yeah, you could say that, you know, Lindsey was the same, but I explained my reasoning for it. And there are others, but you know, the big ones, I think they were the big ones. So this is my angel tag. Angel decks. I think it's gonna be a hashtag angel decks, so that's the easiest. So yes, please do play along if you want to, because I'm so curious that those of you who watched Angel as well, what do you think about my picks, and who would you pick, you know, if you had a chance? And like I said, if you don't want to do a video version, post it on somewhere social media and find me and tell me, because I'm curious. But thank you so much for Rumer Haven for posting the original ones, for inspiring, because I'm kind of feel like I'm gonna rewatch Battlestar Galactica soon and do one for that show, and maybe I rewatch Supernatural. I might do that, and then do a video like this for that one. So I have a few TV shows that I want to do something similar, because I'm really enjoying connecting two things that I love. And maybe I will do that with, you know, books like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, or I don't even know. I have books like the Folk of Air trilogy. That was a brilliant 3 little books. So yeah, I will do stuff like this because I enjoy it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment down below anything you want. Be nice. And yeah, see you in the next one. Bye.